I'm very happy today to have Svetlana Sobel from Sobel Law Offices with me. She's a fabulous networker, an amazing mom, and a real true go-getter when it comes to law and to helping others. So Svetlana, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And tell us about your practice and how long you've been in business.
I've been practicing law for 11 years now, and I've been out on my own with my own firm for the last 6.
And why should someone come to you? What makes you unique?
Well, I'm a firm believer in every business should have a lawyer. Now, the reality is, apart from the theory of having a lawyer, the reality is that not every business can afford one. It's an expensive proposition to have an attorney full-time on staff. Nonetheless, what we provide is general counsel without the expense of having an attorney sit there with a full-time salary. Come in, get to know the company, get to know their needs and their operations, which is important. And that's what sets us aside. We may not be there every day, but we know how the business runs. So whenever a question comes up, the business owner or the CEO, whoever it may be, gives us a call and says, hey, I have this question about an employee issue, or I have this question about a trademark issue. And I know about the business. I don't have to start from square one and get to know it.
You know, and for many years, ad agencies, the same thing. They used to have internal people, and now they have freelancers. So in a way, for people that are unfamiliar with that type of a relationship, you could be considered like a freelancer. They hire you, you're there when you need them, but you know so much about their company it's as if you're an employee of their company.
Absolutely, and just like in freelance world, the freelancer is not there eating up the salary and the benefits, which works for the business, and it works for the freelancer because they know they have a client that's always going to come to them.
Kind of a pay-as-you-go.
Absolutely.
But you're in the know. See, there you go. You can use that tagline, Svetlana. Pay-as-you-go, but I'm in the know. And I know that you do a lot for the community. Tell us about your involvement in that in terms of being a good corporate citizen.
Well, there's a couple of different charities and causes that are near and dear to my heart, as always. There's obviously the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. My sorority was involved in it very deeply. When I was in college, I stayed involved. I actually have an event coming up in February. It's going to be a bowl-a-thon. It should be a great time. And we're raising millions and millions of dollars for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital.
And that's what makes you happy.
Is
that how you connect? Is that how you connect to other businesses? Like, what types of businesses could best be served by you? Is it like a mid-sized business? Who's the best referral for you?
Well, you know, actually any business, like I said from the very beginning, every business needs a lawyer. So whether they need me for a quick consultation to make sure their paperwork is set up right and they're a mom and pop business, or they're a 500 employee business that has ongoing concerns, every business could benefit from a business lawyer. So we're always glad to give a free consultation to go over the things. And what I like to do with a new potential client or a new client is a legal checkup. I go through all of their operations and their policies and their paperwork and come up basically with a list saying, okay, items 1 through 5 are fine, you're good. But look, here you have an issue. You don't have, for example, an employee handbook. You need to have an employee handbook because if you don't have one, how do your employees know what are the rules and what are not?
Absolutely. So you kind of go in there and you're like, that's why I asked you about your personal things too and things that you want to help in the community, because I view you as that. I don't view you as just an attorney.
Thank you.
I really view you as a community partner. And I think what makes you different is that when you do go into the businesses, you're there to help them. You're not there to say, you know, hire me, give me your money, you may or may not need me, pay me now, and maybe you'll need me later. I really think that what you're really doing is you're helping people have that foundation, you know, of safety and security so that they do things correctly, so that they can avoid expensive lawsuits.
Well, it's almost counterintuitive if you ask any other lawyer what we do. Come in and try to save the company money by being proactive and being vigilant and papering everything. Because you know what, it's so much cheaper and easier and less headache to have your shareholder agreement in place rather than, God forbid, one of the shareholders has an accident and becomes either disabled or dies. And you don't have anything on paper, who owned how much of the company, and then you have to litigate it for the next 5 years.
Right, who gets the stapler, who's getting the whatchamacallits, right? It's like not good.
You know, I have clients or people who come in and say, well, I own the company with my brother. we're never going to, you know, get in each other's way. Nobody's going to be out to hurt each other. We'll be fine. We don't need a shareholder agreement. So I tell them, all right, putting aside the proposition that family never fights in business. You love your brother. How do you feel about your sister-in-law, you know, or her sister? And they say, why? I said, well, if you don't have a shareholder agreement that says what happens to your brother's 50% of shares of the company when he dies, then who says how much he owned? What's to stop her from coming in and saying he owned 90%?
Those are wonderful tips and advice. Absolutely why somebody needs to go to you. And do you have any other tips before we wrap up? What would you like to tell people about things they might need to know?
For the business owner, my biggest tip is be proactive. Be proactive and be vigilant. I have two competing stories really quick. One, somebody came to me after they were already sued, and they were then involved in a almost 3-year litigation to try to get out of this lawsuit, all because they didn't come to an attorney when an employee came to them with a pre-existing non-compete agreement from a previous employer.
Okay, so be proactive in that way. And what's your other story?
Always be vigilant. Don't go into regulatory compliance issues without your attorney. I had a client who came to us and said, I'm being audited by the Workers' Comp Board. They were facing, when we did the calculations afterwards, over $1.7 million worth of penalties. We're not talking about actual fees that they were going to incur as far as the back wages that they owed. The Department of Labor would have penalized them to the tune of $1.7 million.
My goodness, and you helped them?
Absolutely. We came in, we did the audit ourselves, we made an arrangement with the Department of Labor that the Department of Labor would take our audit at face value. Basically, we did all the work for the Department of Labor, so they didn't have to do it. It was especially around the Christmas, New Year's time, and they didn't want to do 17 boxes of documents. We did the work. It cost our clients some money, but nowhere near 1.7, and the Department of Labor waived all the penalties.
Fabulous. And that's why you should hire Svetlana Sobel. Sobel Law Offices. It's always been a pleasure to know you and to work with you. Stay tuned for more on Live It Up.